Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ango Show. I know things are looking a little bit different right now, and I do apologize for that in advance, but we're undergoing a massive change, and it's a huge work in progress, and I cannot wait until you guys see the finished product. But with that being said, you guys like wrestling news. I like talking about wrestling, and we're not going to stop. We're going to kick things off with the Young Bucks. A lot of confusion as to whether or not the Young Bucks are still AEW Executive Vice Presidents. Just the other day, it was removed from their profiles on AEW's roster page, and then hours later, maybe even a day later, it was fixed up again where it said that they were EVPs. Obviously, this whole thing led to a huge spark of a conversation on social media as to whether or not they were demoted. And honestly, rightfully so. A lot of people tend to not really understand the roles of the EVPs in the company. It's not really talked about. It's kind of like a thing that's not really, people don't really understand what's going on with these guys. Kenny and the Bucks not necessarily in power with Tony Khan, because in the beginning of AEW, we all saw how much that changed. From the first 6 months, Cody, Kenny, and the Bucks had a lot of power, apparently. Tony Khan wanted to take on more of the workload, and then things changed. So, again, it's totally understandable as to why fans question whether or not they're EVPs. Nick Jackson took to Instagram, posted a story, and revealed that they are still EVPs within the company, which obviously should clear up some confusion. Now, with that being said, I do wonder what their role is as EVPs, and I wonder what can Tony Khan do to ease up the workload. I think when you look at AEW, whether you like it or not, it doesn't really matter. I think a lot of people can agree that AEW, and more specifically Tony Khan, has a lot going on between AEW and ROH, obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars, Fulham Football Club, and then, of course, Tony Khan also owns several other businesses, and he's got to be the forefront of all of those businesses. He's a very key indicator. It's a key indicator that Tony Khan is leading these businesses when you see how active Tony Khan is. Now, with that being said, I do question if maybe Tony Khan has too much of the workload, and maybe he needs to delegate certain tasks or really build a team to help him specifically with AEW, and then have a team specifically for Ring of Honor. Because, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, they're not really, from a business standpoint, we don't really see them as much in the public eye as we do with them being part of the television show. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about maybe Tony Khan just gave these guys the EVP titles as a way to lure them into big contracts with the company, and obviously naming the company All Elite Wrestling and whatnot. I like the Young Bucks. I think they're talented. And I think, whether they're EVPs or not, it doesn't really impact me. But I do see how it could impact the business if these guys don't have an actual role that, is a game changer for the company. It's a structural change that's different from the WWE, because the WWE has a creative team and they have all these different executives for different positions and stuff like that. So it's something to definitely pay attention to. Hopefully it all works out for them. I like them. And yeah. Our next story of the day, WWE making some big decisions, and this one is a very interesting one. So two things. WWE finally announced Paris, France for Backlash next year in early May. So they're doing a show out there. They're also going to do SmackDown in a arena in France. Great news for WWE continuing their international expansion. However, now WrestleVotes came out with something very interesting. WWE and the Big 12 Conference are expected to close a deal where WWE is going to have some sort of partnership in terms of merchandising. And this is really huge news, but it's a very interesting and bold strategy. And I think this is all at the hands of Nick Khan. I think Nick Khan is the one who is coming up with these ideas. I think Nick Khan is the one who is getting these deals done. And these are things that are interesting to me. WWE has a deal with the NFL. Lions championship belts, Jaguar championship belts, Colts championship belts. The Lions, baby. I'm probably going to need to get the Lions WWE championship belt for this space at some point. So somebody wants to buy me one, let me know. But no, in all seriousness, WWE is doing these deals with the NFL and now the Big 12 Conference. I even saw something about WWE doing luchador masks for the MLB. The thing is, the more that WWE is present in other avenues other than wrestling, the better it is for WWE. International shows. Now you got sports and stuff like that, and obviously their deal with Fanatics, and it's an interesting strategy, and I think it's going to be one that helps the WWE. it's just not necessarily a strategy I would have ever expected WWE to get into. And realistically, it's because I never really understood the synergies between other sports and WWE. But then, for an example, you see the NBA. If you're a fan of the NBA is doing an in-season tournament this season, and it's a new idea, new concept. But the NBA, excuse me, they revealed that they're just going to win a trophy. And I'm curious if maybe WWE's long-term goal would be to create WWE championship belts specifically for the winners of the Super Bowl and specifically for the winners of the NBA in-season tournament or the NBA Finals or the MLB playoffs or the Stanley Cup championships for the NHL, whatever it may be. Obviously, WWE will do them custom and they'll gift them, but I'm curious if maybe we'll ever get to the point where WWE actually creates the prize that those teams win, because that would be really crazy and really significant. But I love the fact that WWE is very proactive in trying to grow their business this way. This is something I would also like to see other wrestling companies get into. But I think the biggest thing is it really depends on the size of the company and the notoriety that comes with it. You can love AEW more than WWE, but you cannot deny the fact that WWE, if you ask an everyday person, hey, do you watch wrestling? They're not going to be like, oh, AEW? The likelihood is that they're going to say, oh, you mean WWE. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, that's part of the thing where, you know, some of these other companies don't have that advantage. But obviously, that's why it's so important for WWE to continue growing and making business decisions like that, because these are the things that will always keep them 10 steps ahead. And our final topic of today's video, guys, Tony Khan announcing a new signing will show up at Full Gear to sign their contract. And this is a very, very interesting strategy here, because if Tony Khan doesn't deliver something big, if it's not a big name, if it's not the best wrestler in the world, if it's not a wrestler that every fan respects, I mean, this could be the type of thing that really screws AEW, because then they're going to look at Tony Khan using these tactics just to get people to buy the pay-per-view and watch the pay-per-view. But ultimately, I think there's only two right answers here. I think it's either Mercedes Moné or Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, I have to put an asterisk next to his name, and the reason why is because Will Ospreay is technically contracted to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Can Tony Khan always arrange something with New Japan to buy him out or whatever? Yes, I think it's a possibility. But Tony Khan specifically said this is somebody who is respected by all AEW fans and one of the best wrestlers in the world, and those are two names that I think would be very, very, very fitting for this announcement. I've seen some people kind of guess the idea of maybe Sami Callihan. I think that, you know, I like Sami Callihan. I think he's a great talent. I think to position this signing as something big and then drop the ball, I think it is going to really hurt Tony Khan. So if Tony Khan doesn't deliver a big name, if Tony Khan doesn't deliver something great here, it will blow up in their face, and they are going to lose trust with their fans. They have already lost trust with their fans. You do not want to make it worse. If you deliver something massive here, it's fantastic. But Tony Khan was very clear on making it, saying this is somebody who is very well respected by AEW fans. I don't think it could be Goldberg. I don't think it could be a WWE talent who was released because of the non-compete clauses. The only two free agents or two potential signings that make sense would be Mercedes or Will Ospreay. And with that being said, guys, let me know what you think down below. Thanks for being patient with me. I appreciate you all. We're going to do something big together.